Sound of bone cracking at 0:03, followed by laughter. As she ground her heel into my ulna, she laughed and said, "Now you deserve that inheritance." The truth YouTube tried to ban 3 times, 3 bombshell pieces of evidence exposed. Fake death incrimination video. Forensic certified acting led her to admit to hiring a hitman at the funeral hall. 218 full 17-minute court recording. 300% spike in crimes. My x-rays became the FBI's top case study for spouse-inflicted disability. Source: CDC 2024 Annual Report. $1 billion secret of the broken hand. My fracture unlocked the family trust. It turns out disability was the key to wealth. They thought a wheelchair was a disgrace. Tomorrow night's video reveals how a titanium alloy prosthetic limb signed a multi-million-dollar contract. How her every taunt became damning evidence for conviction. Click the bell to unlock confidential court documents in 48 hours. Married for 7 years. My wife and her childhood sweetheart crippled me. My wife's childhood sweetheart ran me over and crippled me repeatedly. And she just watched with cold indifference. Smiling, I was bleeding profusely, critically injured and dying. But my wife remained in her childhood sweetheart's arms, chatting and laughing. I begged her to take me to the hospital, but she left in disgust. Disgusting. Figure it out yourself. By the time the ambulance found me, it was too late. My right hand was gangrenous and had to be amputated. I sobbed uncontrollably, clutching my severed limb, only to see her childhood sweetheart feed. Holding hands means forever. The picture showed him and Tiffany with their fingers intertwined. After being discharged, I promised William I agreed to immigrate and take over the family business. But Tiffany cried, searching everywhere for me. "Husband, why aren't you taking care of me anymore? Ethan, you're shameless. You've even learned to fake your injury." As soon as I walked out of the hospital, I heard Tiffany's furious shouts. "Kevin was just playing a truth or dare prank, just ran you over a few times, and you're making a big deal out of nothing, even coming to the hospital, you petty, narrow-minded jerk, you're total turn-off." I looked coldly at the woman I had loved for 7 years. Suddenly, I let out a self-deprecating smile. This was the woman I risked my life to protect, yet after my amputation, she couldn't even spare a glance. Everything she said was either making excuses for another man, or accusing me of being immature. If she had cared about me even a little, she would have noticed that my bandaged arm was significantly shorter. "So, you came here today just to tell me this?" I walked around her and continued forward. Tiffany's face froze, and her tone grew even angrier. "What's with that attitude? Try giving me attitude again. Just because you're faking illness, you scared Kevin so much his depression flared up. You know how frail he is. Can't you cut him some slack and be more magnanimous?" She grabbed me, pressing her fingers hard onto my wound. The pain made me break out in a cold sweat. "Tonight, they'll make a big dinner at home and apologize, and make amends to Kevin. You caused his depression to flare up. If he doesn't forgive you, he'll report you for assault." Then, without further explanation, she forcefully pushed me into the passenger seat. The strong smell of cheap perfume in the car made me dizzy. I was all too familiar with that scent. It was Kevin's favorite. "I'll sit in the back." Pinching my nose, I curled up in the back seat and rested my eyes. The car was dead silent. Seeing my haggard face and bandaged arm, a hint of hesitation flashed in Tiffany's eyes. She started to speak several times, then stopped before she could say anything. A sticky object fell at my feet. We both looked. It was a used condom. Tiffany instantly became furious, her voice shrill. "Ethan, how disgusting are you? Can't you clean up after yourself? How can I face anyone if someone sees that? You have no respect for me." I suppressed my disgust and used a disinfectant wipe to clean my shoe. "My memory must be failing," I said in a flat voice. "I don't recall that happening in the car." Hearing this, Tiffany seemed to realize something, and her eyes became guilty. She carefully tucked it into her pocket, her voice faltering. "I lent the car to my girlfriends earlier. It must have been a prank." Watching me change disinfectant wipes one after another to clean my shoe, she scoffed. "You have your exclusive passenger seat, but you refuse to sit there. You deserve to be a cleaner." I looked up and saw the words "husband's exclusive" on the passenger seat dashboard, which looked particularly jarring. Before, whenever Tiffany picked me up, she would fill the passenger seat dashboard with homemade desserts. She claimed, "Every day I see you is sweet." I am a germaphobe, so she strictly forbade outsiders from getting into the car. She even filled the seats with the 99 love letters she had written to me, deterring others. But the purpose of a promise is to be broken. Kevin's appearance shattered all her principles. He said he was timid and socially anxious. 7. He said his depression would relapse if he felt down, so Tiffany tied me to the roadside, letting him drive towards me, and then brake suddenly, just for the thrill of it. My hand was crushed, and I begged Tiffany to save me. She and Kevin laughed at me in the car, saying I looked like a dying dog, then embraced and kissed passionately. I was amputated and contemplated suicide in despair, but then I saw the dashcam footage synchronized to her phone. She was setting off fireworks in the wilderness for Kevin's birthday, and then, in what used to be my exclusive passenger seat, they had sex. From that day on, I no longer wanted that exclusive seat, and I no longer wanted Tiffany either. I returned home at 11:30 p.m. Tiffany immediately ran into the bedroom and locked the door as if I were a thief. Kevin once said that just thinking about Tiffany and me being intimate would trigger his depression. That night, she kicked me out of the bedroom. I argued with her, and she threw my belongings out like trash. You cold-blooded animal. Won't you be satisfied until you drive Kevin to his death? He's already pathetic. Why do you always hurt him? Having no choice, I could only retreat to the study. The next day, I heard Tiffany fall in the bedroom, sobbing uncontrollably. After 7 years of marriage, I couldn't just do nothing, but as I burst into the room, filled with worry, a vase came flying towards my head, and then Tiffany's hysterical scream. Ethan, you've disappointed me so much, and I even trusted you before. Kevin told me to test you, and you certainly showed your true colors. He was right, you pervert, a beast who only thinks with his lower half. My forehead was bleeding profusely as I listened to her rant. She even threatened to accuse me of rape if I dared to approach the bedroom again. Her phone was on a video call screen. I clearly saw Kevin's mischievous grin of triumph and a taunting middle finger. From then on there was no trace of me in my master bedroom. Tiffany, honey, please don't be mad at Ethan. Sure enough, shortly after Tiffany disappeared, the sound of their video call began. He faked his injury to get your attention. After all, his parents abandoned him and moved abroad. I've forgiven him for scaring me and triggering my depression. You can't really stoop to the level of a beggar orphan, can you? I had no interest in listening to their affectionate chatter. I turned back to the study and called William. My dear boy, you agreed to immigrate. William's voice was excited and surprised. He and Margaret had urged me many times to go abroad and take over the family business. But Tiffany said she couldn't get used to foreign food, so I kept postponing it. For 7 years, I put aside my career and aging parents, devoting myself entirely to her. All I got in return was a disabled right hand and a shattered marriage. Now, letting go of everything, I needed to replan my life. The immigration application has been approved. I sent William a screenshot of the information. The flight is in 3 days. I've booked it. After I spoke, I heard Tiffany's suspicious voice from behind me. What did you book? I hung up the phone and calmly lead. A restaurant. I've been wanting to go. She did herbs for a cleansing ritual. Coming out of the hospital, it's good to cleanse away bad vibes. She patted me while speaking. I felt a little distracted. Before, whenever I was discharged, she would use the leaves to perform a cleansing ritual for me. As she did so, she would cry and say, "This is the last time, my dear husband. Please be well. If you get sick, I'll take it for you." But 6 months ago, when Kevin appeared, everything changed. I clung to that fleeting moment of tenderness, and my eyes welled up uncontrollably. Seeing me like this, a hint of worry flashed in Tiffany's eyes. She was about to say something when her phone rang. It was Kevin's exclusive ringtone. Tiffany frowned and hung up, but the calls kept coming relentlessly. I could tell she was restless, wanting to answer but hesitant, constantly glancing at my face. "Answer it," I said. Maybe something really happened. I had a good idea what it was. Sure enough, as soon as she answered, a weeping voice came from the other end. This time, it wasn't fake, crying, "Ethan, that son of a bitch, sued me for assault. Tiffany, help me. I am so anxious right now. My depression will act up in 20 minutes, and I'll really kill myself." Tiffany visibly paled, and promised to be there immediately. When she looked at me again, her eyes were reproachful. "Ethan, are you sick? He was just playing a prank. Can't you stop making trouble for no reason? Kevin has depression. How could you bear to send him to jail? He'll be unhappy." Before leaving, Tiffany ordered, "Send a settlement agreement's house. Tonight, the 3 of us will have dinner, and we can put this behind us." I looked coldly as her retreating figure disappeared from my sight. Tiffany stayed at Kevin's house comforting him for 3 days. She didn't come to me until the police arrived to take Kevin away. She rushed home frantically to demand an explanation from me, but the next second, her face changed drastically. A strange man was staring at her with a hostile gaze. "Who are you looking for?" Tiffany's mind went blank, and she suddenly panicked. "This is my house. Who are you? Where's Ethan?" She tried to rush inside but was slapped to the ground by the man. "This is my new house," the man said fiercely. "No matter what grudges you have with the previous owner, if you dare to cause trouble in my house, I'll break your legs." Tiffany was dumbfounded. She had lived in this house for many years, from dating to marriage, but now, all traces of her were erased, replaced with unfamiliar decor. Nonsense. "I was living here 3 days ago. How could it be sold just like that? You must be colluding with Ethan. Letter of understanding with me." The man spat disdainfully. "Crazy woman." Then he called property management to throw Tiffany out of the community. Tiffany stood there gaping. She couldn't accept the reality. "Ethan, there's a limit to competing for attention." She called me, but the line was busy. She then sent me messages on WeChat, but received a red exclamation mark. "You blocked me." "Ethan, how dare you?" Recalling my unusual behavior during this period, her pupils constricted. Suddenly, she felt a panic of losing control. She paced back and forth in front of the community gate, clutching her hair, then remembered something and started calling my friends. Without exception, all of them had blocked her. At this, Tiffany's panic intensified, and her hands and feet trembled. Finally, one person answered the phone, but before she could speak, a torrent of abuse came from the other end. "You have the nerve to look for Ethan. It's a good thing he immigrated, or you would have killed him eventually. You ungrateful animal. You'll never see him again in this lifetime. I hope you and your lover boy live eternally happy, and die young." Clang! Tiffany's legs gave out, and she fell to the ground. "I am immigrated. Ethan left. He doesn't want me anymore. No. I didn't give him permission. Who gave him the right to leave me?" Tiffany screamed hysterically, as if trying to convince herself. Her friend scoffed. "Ethan spoiled and indulged you so much. Did you really think you were a queen? He wanted to be a shooter since he was a child, but you crippled his hand just to appease that manipulative guy. His dreams were shattered by the person he loved most. Do you know how desperate he was? Do you know how many times he tried to kill himself these past few days?" After saying this, her friend angrily hung up the phone. Tiffany called again, but she had been blocked. Meanwhile, I was lying on a beach on the other side of the ocean, enjoying the sun. As my friend vented about Tiffany's shamelessness, I calmly chuckled and comforted him. "She's irrelevant. Don't mind her. Homeless." Tiffany had no choice but to stay in a hotel. That night, she fell ill with a high fever. "Ethan, I am thirsty. I want water. Ethan, I don't feel well. Ethan." She called for a long time, but no one responded. Only then did Tiffany remember that I had gone overseas. A strange pang of pain in her heart made her unable to breathe. The woman curled up helplessly in the corner, calling my number repeatedly. At that moment, a wave of regret suddenly surged within her. If Ethan was still here, he wouldn't bear to see me sad. "Ethan, please come back. I can't live without you," she muttered to herself when suddenly an email popped up. It was the divorce property settlement notice. Receive no assets in the divorce, but she also had to recover the expenses she had given to Kevin over the years. Tiffany's face instantly changed. "Ethan, you heartless, ungrateful animal." She angrily smashed her phone on the ground. "I gave you 7 years of my youth, and receive no assets in the divorce. You exaggerate a minor issue. Do you have any humanity? She used someone else's phone to call me. Ethan, that's enough. Do you think immigrating will cut ties with me? We're legally married, and Australia recognizes that." Her tone was arrogant and defiant, demanding as always. "Tomorrow morning, I want to see you at the hotel. I can forgive and forget your unreasonable antics these past few days. I am giving you an out, so don't be ungrateful. Get back here." I laughed in exasperation. "Tiffany, we're no longer married." Her brows furrowed. "Try saying that again." My voice was unfazed. "You committed infidelity during our marriage, instigated Kevin's assault, and are involved in illegal activities. I don't need your consent. Filing for divorce can dissolve the marriage." The other side was silent for a long time, and I heard something fall to the ground. "Ethan, you're just trying to scare me, right? Tiffany's voice trembled. How could you bring yourself to leave me? You're a cripple, who else would want you besides me? You're just trying to provoke me, to make me love you more, yes. That must be it. I couldn't be bothered to listen to her delusional thinking. Your court summons should arrive soon. I wish you and Kevin are assigned to a couple's cell. Sarcastic. After saying that, I hung up and blocked her. Tiffany kept calling my name, wanting to say more, but I no longer heard her. After arriving in Australia, I spent a week adjusting to the time difference. As soon as I adapted to the rhythm here, William couldn't wait to thrust me into the company and begin the succession plan. Without the emotional self-sabotage from romantic entanglements, I devoted myself entirely to my career. My work efficiency soared. After I secured 2 major contracts in one go, the company veterans praised me endlessly. They all envied William, complimenting him on having a worthy successor. Life working hard was busy, but it also made me feel incredibly fulfilled. I no longer missed my time with Tiffany. Everything from before, both bitter and sweet, turned into colorful bubbles, dissipating in the fading wind. But to my surprise, a week later, Tiffany appeared before me. Tiffany stood in my yard, dusty and disheveled, her face etched with exhaustion. I was heading to the shooting club, walking around her, but she blocked me. She grabbed my arm, her gaze dark. Are you done with your tantrum? If you are, come back with me. I laughed in exasperation, shaking her hand off. Tiffany, do you not understand plain English? We're divorced. She smirked. Ethan, can you stop acting all high and mighty? You knew Kevin had depression, but you deliberately provoked his episodes. Every time he needed my care, you prevented me and argued with me, making him suffer. And this time, you maliciously framed him and sent him to prison. I endured you repeatedly for the sake of our 7-year relationship. What more do you want? I am ordering you now. Come back to the country with me immediately. Tiffany grabbed my collar, and our eyes met. Suddenly, she felt a jolt. My eyes no longer held the affection they once did, only cold indifference and disgust remained. I took 2 steps back, creating distance. I couldn't even bother to argue with her slander. I walked on, minding my own business, my voice flat. Tiffany, I don't want you anymore. There were no heated arguments, no arrogant threats. Watching me turn away unperturbed, walking past her like a stranger. At this, Tiffany's feigned composure finally shattered. Her face instantly turned ashen, and she trembled all over. Husband. She stumbled after me, grabbing my car door with both hands. Ethan, you can't do this to me. Did you forget our wedding vows? We were supposed to be each other's only one. You can't break your promises. I looked at her coldly. Let go. Tiffany's expression became more anxious, with a whimper in her voice. 7 years of our relationship. How could you just leave like this? It's not fair to me. I saved your life. You can't be ungrateful. My thoughts flashed back to the day I first met her. I was threatened by a drunk man with a knife, and Tiffany acted heroically, resulting in a knife scar on her forearm. During our courtship, she would flaunt the scar every day. She called it a badge of courage for love, but later, it became a tool to control and manipulate me. Tiffany pulled up her sleeve, but her face instantly turned pale. The original scar had faded, replaced by a brightly tattooed inscription, Tiffany Kevin, forever and always. No. That's not right. Tiffany broke down, crying, kneeling on the ground and furiously tearing at the skin on her forearm. This was just a truth or dare prank. It doesn't count. Wipe it off. Quickly, wipe off that filthy thing. I drove away. In the rearview mirror, Tiffany knelt on the ground, her white dress stained with blood. The inscribed skin was literally torn off by her, discarded like trash. Range. My beautiful coach had been waiting for a long time. I once thought that the disability of my right hand would preclude me from my shooting dreams, but Sophia's appearance and encouragement helped me regain my confidence. I decided to switch to left-handed shooting and learn from scratch. Just as we were chatting and laughing, Tiffany suddenly burst in. Bitch, stay away from my husband. Then she rushed forward, raising her hand to hit Sophia. Enough. I instinctively shielded Sophia behind me. Tiffany looked at me with a wounded expression. Ethan, are you cheating on me? You jerk. You divorcing me because of this hussy. Does that justify 7 years of my youth? Before I could defend myself, Tiffany muttered to herself, "It bothered that Kevin and I are close, so he deliberately getting revenge, aren't you? Get rid of her, and I promise I won't see Kevin anymore. I can use my connections to make sure he dies in prison and never bothers us again." She stepped forward and pulled me, her voice pleading. Husband, let's go home, have a child, and live a good life. I couldn't bear her slandering my friend right in front of me. I pushed her away. Tiffany, can you just get lost? It's so annoying. She was stunned for a moment. Then she remembered that she often said those very words to me when she was on dates with Kevin. In an instant, the woman knelt on the ground, sobbing heartbreakingly. I thought I wouldn't see Tiffany again after that, but she stuck to me like glue, following me everywhere I went. Rose boxes and homemade pastries also constantly appeared outside my door. I accepted none of them, throwing them all into the trash. Tiffany just watched with a wounded expression, continuing to send gifts the next day. Every night, she would even stand outside my window, displaying banners with apologies and arranging candles into a heart shape to declare her feelings to me. I ignored it all, but she continued tirelessly, determined to see it through. After half a month of this, just as I was utterly fed up, Tiffany suddenly disappeared. My friends back home said Kevin's assault case officially went to trial. Tiffany was brought back to the country for investigation as a suspect. At the same time, I also received a notice from my lawyer back home. It requested me to appear in court as the plaintiff. Everything from the past, it was time for it to be brought to a conclusion. In court, I saw Tiffany and Kevin again. They were wearing prison uniforms, no longer having their former glamorous appearance. As soon as Kevin saw me, he became agitated and yelled, "Ethan, I order you to withdraw the lawsuit, or Tiffany will never speak to you again." Tiffany, who was standing nearby, lowered her head and remained silent, as if resigned to her fate. In court, the two who had been so deeply in love unexpectedly acted completely out of character. They desperately tried to shift all the blame onto each other. Eventually, they were hurling insults at each other. They knew each other too well, and they knew exactly what words would sting the most. By the end of it, they were like mortal enemies, revealing each other's crimes. Besides hitting me, Kevin had 3 other hit-and-run incidents, some even causing deaths. Tiffany, on the other hand, was found guilty of embezzlement of public funds and tax evasion. With multiple counts combined, Kevin was sentenced to life in prison. He would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Tiffany was sentenced to 5 years. When it was over, Tiffany insisted on seeing me. "Ethan, believe it or not, I truly love you." Her face was gaunt, and she said, tears in her eyes, "I've only ever loved you, but I was too insecure. You came from a good family, you were capable and loyal in love. No matter how hard I tried, I felt I wasn't good enough for you. I was afraid you'd suddenly leave me one day, so I used Kevin to hurt you, to make you suffer. I wanted you to beg me to stay, over and over. That way, I'd feel secure." She looked at my disabled right hand again, her voice choked. "I thought if you were disabled, you would be dependent on me, unable to leave me, and that's why I didn't save you that day. I was wrong, Ethan. I already had all of your love, and I was the one who pushed you away." By the end of her confession, Tiffany was sobbing uncontrollably. I could tell she was truly remorseful, but I didn't forgive her. She pleaded to hear my voice one last time, but I said nothing, turning to leave. My life was still long, and my career and dreams were waiting for me to pursue. Irrelevant people weren't worth my time. 3 years later, my career was stable. William and Margaret had also completely handed over control to me, and the two of them happily enjoyed their retirement. Sophia and I became a couple. With her support, I registered for the Paralympic 10-meter air rifle event under the club's name. Standing on the long-desired competition venue, my mood was unusually calm. Perhaps Tiffany's endless torment had long since helped me develop an unflappable composure. My performance in the competition was exceptionally good. I even managed to win a silver medal. Because my right hand was disabled, I kept it tucked into my pocket. My posture, shooting with one hand from the side, somehow had a relaxed, almost killer-like aesthetic. This scene immediately had me dominating the trending topics. Some netizens even joked that I had picked up a side gig during an assassination mission, and casually won the silver medal. Don't ask why I didn't get gold. The answer is the client didn't pay enough. I simply laughed it off. At the awards ceremony, the scene of Sophia and me sealing our love with a kiss went viral worldwide. I gently hung the medal around her neck, a token of our love. Later, I heard from friends back home. Tiffany, in prison, saw the broadcast and suddenly lost control of her emotions. She knelt before the TV, weeping uncontrollably, calling my name over and over. She cried herself unconscious and had to be pulled away for emergency treatment. After the competition, Sophia and I held our wedding in a small town on the Mississippi River, in a quaint and solemn church. We exchanged rings under the watchful eye of the priest, pledging our lifelong vows. I never expected to hear news about Kevin at my wedding. After going to prison, he was frequently bullied by his fellow inmates. He had been faking depression, but this time, he genuinely developed a mental illness. However, he happened to overhear from an inmate that the bullies had been intentionally arranged by Tiffany before she went to prison. It was a way to get back at him for what he'd done. He couldn't handle the shock and completely lost his mind. During an outdoor labor assignment, he swallowed rocks to commit suicide. He had been dead for half a year. Listening to my friend gossiping, I felt neither joy nor sorrow. I suddenly realized I hadn't thought of Tiffany or Kevin in a long time. My previous 7-year marriage had also faded into a blur, as if it were just a fragmented dream. I heard news about Tiffany again, 2 years after my wedding. At the time, Sophia and I were traveling the world. The call connected, and it was Tiffany's hoarse voice. "Ethan, do you love me?" I felt a little sick to my stomach, and Tiffany suddenly pleaded, "Please, Ethan, just say you love me. This is really important. Ethan, please, just say you love me, won't you?" I hung up immediately. Soon after, I received a news notification. A boat illegally smuggled from my home country to Australia encountered a storm at sea. The only woman who had a chance to survive actively gave up on survival. She was buried at sea. Onboard surveillance footage showed a thin, hunched woman crying out to a cell phone when she died. She was clutching a faded photograph. It was my wedding photo with Tiffany. I silently swiped away the notification, feeling no ripple in my heart. "Honey, time to board." Ahead, Sophia was waving to me, holding a large plush bear. I smiled warmly and turned off my phone. I ran over, put my arm around her waist, and we embarked on the next leg of our journey.